Welcome to Follow Me to the MROP, a podcast dedicated to the journey of the masculine soul and the transformative power of initiation. My name is Brian Mueller. I live in suburban Dayton, Ohio, and I made my rites at Pilgrim Park in Illinois in 2014. I'm your host, and in each episode of our show, I'll sit down with one man who has made his rites, and I'll invite him to tell his story. This won't be an abstract explanation or a theological lecture, just a real conversation about what it was like to cross that threshold at the rites and what changed afterward. Before we begin, a quick word of gratitude. This podcast is brought to you by Choosing Presence. We believe that the greatest gift a man can give his community is his own presence. In a world of constant distraction, Choosing Presence provides the tools to help you stay grounded in the now. If you'd like an easy way to begin learning about the practice of presence, you can download the free Practicing Presence app at choosingpresence.org/app. Now, the Men's Rites of Passage, or MROP, is an experience designed to help men move from the first half of life into the second, shifting from a focus on ego and achievement to a life of meaning and soul. On this show, we just don't talk about the rites in theory, we talk to the men who have walked the path. Today, we are joined by a man who has made his rites, and we're going to hear exactly what that journey looked like for him. My guest today is Rich Horton. Brother, I'm really glad you're here. Thanks for making the time and for being willing to share your story.
I'm glad to be here, and I'm really willing to share my story.
Rich, tell us where you're from and how you spend your time these days.
Well, I'm originally from Northeast Ohio, outside of Cleveland, but for the last almost 10 years now, I have lived in Columbus, Ohio, and love Ohio for the most part. Love the topography and the people. It's a very welcoming, Columbus in particular is a very welcoming community.
How do you keep busy these days?
Well, I have a lot of interests, and one of them, of course, is I facilitate the Columbus Counsel of Illuman, which I have been doing now for almost 9 years, and I love it. It's really a great group. And our group is getting a bit large. We have between 8 and 10 almost every month, and sometimes we get 12, which is a little bit tight around my dining room table. But it's always very, very enjoyable. And so that's one of my major interests. The other one is I am president of the Columbus, Ohio Primetimers, which is a group of almost 100 mature gay men and those that like them. And it's a social group and a lot of wonderful men. And then my other major interest is my church. I'm on the vestry of St. Stephen's Episcopal and University Center on the campus of Ohio State University. Plus, I sing in the choir, and I do all the flowers for the church.
Wow. Yeah, you do keep busy. Well, thank you for all that. Now, let's dive in and talk about the Men's Rites of Passage. The MROP is a unique experience. It's not a retreat or a workshop, it's an initiation. Many men arrive at the rites at a crossroads in their lives, looking for something they can't quite name. Before we dive into the why and the how, let's start at the very beginning. When and where did you make your rites, Rich?
I did my MROP in 2014. And in Illinois, it was a beautiful setting. I can't remember the name of the park, but it was really, really lovely. We had a lot of natural areas, which feeds my heart since I'm also a naturalist. So it was really, really lovely. And I will never forget walking in that very first night. And this was with the ritual drumming and the smiles on so many people's faces. There's probably well over 30 men, I think, there at that MROP. And one of the first feelings that I had was welcome. It was probably the first time I did something like this since I came out as a gay man back in 89. It was a long time ago. But I never felt in any way that there's a problem with being there. In fact, I felt so encouraged to participate and be a part of everything that was going on.
That's terrific. So I believe it was Pilgrim Park that you were at. That's where the rites are usually in Illinois. Who was your weaver?
Oh, that was Belden Lane. Oh, what an incredible man. He was one of the ones that really set the tone for the whole experience. And I think I connected with him. I still believe that he was a retired minister. And in 2014, I had just completed my training to become a spiritual director. And so it was kind of like I was moving from that whole new chapter of my life because I had been retired basically since 2009 and looking for how I could transform my life for the rest of my life in my journey. And it was the right decision to come to Pilgrim Park and be a part of it.
And when you think back to that weekend, what are the images or what is the image or the feeling that really comes forth for you?
I don't think I will ever forget the rituals. They were powerful. In fact, just sitting here now, I remember the one with the broken mirror, that whole experience of shattering the past and looking into where I've come from. That ritual, that wasn't the only one, but that was the one that stuck with me. And in fact, I still have pieces of that mirror in a shadow box in my study here. It was just, and again, I remember because I was part of a ritual, and I remember on my hands and knees going to every man in the circle and looking into their eyes. And I'll never forget it. Powerful.
Now, without sharing anything you might consider confidential, is there a particular story or moment at the rites that stood out to you, maybe even an encounter with somebody else?
Well, there was one of the men who was, I don't know, he was one of the presenters. And I think that I remember him the most because he shared so deeply the pain of being abused sexually. And while I was never abused sexually, I was abused emotionally. And it touched me because one of the things that, and I'm willing to share this, one of the things that has always been a crossroads for me is from the time I was 5 years old and my father told me he didn't want a sissy for his sons, I knew I was different. And it took me 45 years to finally come to terms with that and to deal with it. But it was, that came forth also in the rite of passage, that the pain of that experience in the past, but then the overcoming of that pain and the transformational. Every time I think about the MROP, I think about transformation. And for me, there were all those nuggets of gold that I hold on to that I got at that retreat. It was truly a rite of passage.
Now, I want to take you back to the decision to go to the rites. I know you said that you retired about 2009, so you were still relatively early in your retirement, but you also said you had just completed your spiritual direction. Can you tell us a little bit more about the circumstances, though, that led up to your decision to go ahead and register and participate in the rites?
I had been a part of the training program to become a spiritual director for 2 years. I started in 2012. And I was kind of at a crossroads. I had been in a short-term relationship with a wonderful man, but a man who was not available to me really, emotionally and even physically. And so I didn't know where my life was going. And even though I had retired, I retired from full-time work in 2005, and then I worked 20-hour a week for the next 3 years. But in 2009, I retired completely. And so I felt that I was at a crossroads. It was one of the reasons I went into spiritual direction training after being pulled greatly by my own spiritual directors and another friend who just raved about this program, the spiritual direction program. So then when I finished the program, it was like, okay, where do I go from here? It was 2014. I was in my early 70s at that point, and it was like, okay, what do I do? But I also, as part of my spiritual direction training in that, I had really gotten in touch with my own spirituality, and I wanted to deepen that. And I felt that going to the men's rite of passage would help me get more in touch with the true self that's deep within me.
Now, when you entered the rites, was there something that you were hoping for, something that you were looking to be initiated into?
I guess for me, it was to be initiated into the world of helping masculinity. Having, grown up for so many years feeling that wasn't, I wasn't physically attractive. I didn't think. It turns out I was wrong, but I, I really, I wanted to really go deeper for myself in my journey.
Was there anything though on the flip side that you were fearing, or any fear that you had entering into the rites?
Well, I think as a gay man, I was fearful of coming into a group of men who I assumed would be majority heterosexual. That was probably my only fear. I had gotten beyond that a little bit, having come out in '89, but I had also gone through some very severe trauma in my teaching career where I had a superintendent who tried to fire me for no reason, really, because I was gay. So there was always a hesitancy for me to get involved with other men, and would I be accepted for the man I am?
Who did you share your decision to attend the rites with, if anyone?
Hmm, that's a good question. I don't have much family here in Ohio. I think the only one I shared it with were my two sons, uh, and they were supportive, um, even though they didn't quite understand what I was doing. They going, "Dad, you're going to an initiation program for men, and you're how old?" That was kind of the attitude, but they were still supportive.
Now the rites lasts for parts of 5 days. It's a long event, but we all get through it. You get through it. How did you feel in that immediate period as you were leaving Pilgrim Park and heading back home?
I was riding on a cloud. Mm. I'm remembering that there was a time in the afternoon one day of that retreat where we were to go off by ourselves, which we did a lot of, but this was a really significant amount of time. And I found myself sitting amongst the trees, um, and really meditating on what are the nuggets of gold, the crystals of whatever diamonds, whatever you want to call them, but what are they that make up my soul? And it was while I was sitting there that it came to me, something that I had discovered even a number of years before, but had not really taken to heart. And that was that I am the possibility of love, joy, and wonder. And that was totally affirmed at that initiation program, the men's rite of passage. And so as I came out of that experience, all I wanted was more. I wanted to do more. I wanted to feel more. I wanted to be more a part of what it means to be a healthy man, spiritually grounded with love.
That's beautiful. So you come back, and I imagine you spoke to your sons again, but who all did you tell about the rites, and maybe how did some of those conversations change?
Well, I was very fortunate because before I even went on the rite, I had already formed a men's group outside of Cleveland, on the east side of Cleveland. So I was very eager to get back and to share my experience with the men. So that's who I shared it with, and I hope that maybe some of those men went on to do their own. That's rite of passage. I think some of them did.
Are you continue to have new realizations? Is there anything that is continuing to emerge in your life that is coming out of those rites, that rites experience you had?
I think one of the biggest things that has really stuck with me is the fact that I need to go into silent, deep meditation and connect with, I call them my angels or my spiritual guides or whatever, but connect with God and feel the present in every single day. And as I've shared with many of my own council members here in Columbus, um, I have a spirit guide that visits me almost every day in the form of a red cardinal. And it is truly a spirit guide. And I walk out my door in the morning at like 6:30, 7 o'clock to take the dog out. And there's my cardinal singing on the top of the tree. So my connection with nature is deepened even more. I feel like my life is still evolving, is still growing. I'm going to be 83 in a month. And I just love the experiences that I've had and how it has created such a positive journey for me. And I think about the journey of illuminations, following the men's rite of passage. I still deal with that. I still go with that. And my life is full of present every single hour of every single day. And I experience that with the contact that I have with the other people that come into my life, which is a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. I love the image of a cardinal as your spirit guide. I think that's beautiful. Let me ask, how has your understanding of masculinity, initiation, or purpose shifted since your experience at the rites and all the years of work in between?
I think what I've come to realize is that an awful lot of men have learned the wrong kinds of things about who they are. Mm. And I think in many ways they are craving an experience like I've had with Illuman, and continue to have. And I can remember once I was sharing I was actually sharing that I was going to this wonderful writing retreat in January, sponsored by Ohio Illuman and led by you and one up and Tom. And the women were most of the practitioners at the Reiki Center are women. And they were saying, you know what? Us women have these kinds of relationships, but so many men do not. And they were so excited and wanted to share what I was doing with the men in their life.
So, what counsel or advice would you give to a man who is currently kind of discerning whether or not to register or participate in a rites of passage?
I think the first thing to do is to go into prayer, and to really focus on what it is you're looking for in your life and what is hampering you or holding you back. And then as you approach it in meditation and prayer and compassion for yourself, come to a decision that this could be a really important step for continuing your journey as a helping man in our society.
I just have really one more question for you. And I want our listeners to know that you and I were both initiates at the same rites of passage. And Rich, you're a very dear man to me. And we've been in community together since that time and have really both been on our own journeys of illumination and our, together journey. And you've done a lot for gay men. I think that's a particular part of your spiritual journey. And I would just like to hear a little bit more about your experience as a gay man within Illuman, and also, what you might share with other men about, not just about Illuman, but your own individual experience, what it means.
I guess the thing that strikes me every time I listen to it or watch it is the welcome that was given at Awaken, the first Awaken in Virginia that I went to. And that is the experience that I want other gay men to have, is we are all welcome. And this journey is for all men. And I just, I think back to my own counsel here in Columbus. We have just gone through a big loss. One of our members died just the Monday after Easter. And our council meets tonight without God. And it has just been such an incredible experience to be with men. And it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight or bi or just, what matters is you're present and to be present and to listen from the heart. Here comes the guidelines. Listen from the heart and speak from the heart. And every month when we finish our council, I turn to my husband and I say, I don't know what I would do without Illuman and without this part and support for my journey, as well as supporting others in their journey.
Would you like to speak the name of the man who passed away into as a blessing and just a memory for him? I know he was a member of our community for a while.
Donovan Vicha.
Donovan.
Has been a member of the Columbus Council since it was formed 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's very dear to me. And we are lighting a special candle tonight just for Don. And so with the blessings that we will be sharing, and I bless John in my heart right now because he's been so much a part of our journeys together. I'm sorry. I get emotional.
Sure.
But yeah, Donovan.
Brother, thank you deeply. I love you. I appreciate your honesty, your courage, and for you giving us a window into your MROP experience and beyond. Thank you, Rich.
Oh, I'm very grateful to do it. Thank you, and love you too.
For those listening who are now feeling a tug in their own soul and are curious to learn more, allow me to share a bit about the history of these rites. The men's rites of passage was originally developed by Father Richard Rohr and was first offered at Ghost Ranch, New Mexico in 1996. While it was supported for many years by the Center for Action and Contemplation, since 2012, Illuman has been the steward of this work, preserving and adapting the rites for men all over the world. To learn more about the history and the theology behind this work, I highly recommend reading Adam's Return by Richard Rohr. If you are ready to make your rites, there are 4 opportunities in the United States and another in the United Kingdom in 2026. The first is in Northern California, May 13th through the 17th. The second in the United Kingdom, July 22nd through the 26th. And in Illinois, August 12th through the 16th. There's one on the East Coast in New Jersey, September 16th through the 20th. And the final one of the year is in Texas, which is in MROP and Umbrales, our Spanish language rites, September 30th through October 4th. You can find details and registration information at illuman.org/MROP or illuman.org/events. Additionally, mark your calendars for Awaken, the annual national gathering of Illuman, taking place November 5th through the 8th in New Mexico. You can find more at illuman.org/awaken. Finally, a special thank you to our sponsor, Choosing Presence. If today's conversation moved you, I encourage you to bring more intentionality into your daily life. Download the Practicing Presence app for free at choosingpresence.org/app. It's a simple but profound way to stay connected to the journey we've discussed today. Thank you for listening to Follow Me to the MROP. Until next time, brothers, stay present.